The US and Israel is close to a deal to get 50 to 100 of the hostages out, but there's a complication and there's a problem. Also, Iran unveils a new hypersonic missile that the US cannot defend against and presents a massive problem. I'll give you the details on that here. And the president has a birthday, which also presents another problem. I'll give you the details here on all of that in this video and more. Let's jump right in. Thank you so much for smashing the like button for us. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any new videos. Here we go. All right, so President Biden turns 81 years old, the oldest president ever. For comparison, former President Trump is 77 and about a half, and either of them would be the oldest president also if reelected. President Biden, remember that the election, the next year's election is still a year away. So Biden would be actually 82, and former President Donald Trump, who was 77 and about a half, would be 78 and a half. And remember that Biden would be going till about 86 as a president if he makes it. And yes, this leaves a lot of concerns to whether or not how old is too old as a president. 86, and also Trump would be into his 80s as well. I think that he also would be 81 by the time the 4 years is up, as him being the end of the president if he were to be reelected as well. Polls show voters continue to be concerned by Biden's age. In fact, Biden just received his lowest approval rating ever measured for him in an NBC poll. With less than a year until the 2024 election, President Biden's approval rating is hitting new lows. NBC News' Steve Kornacki broke down the results of a poll released by the network on Sunday. Quote, President Biden's, with his job approval rating, we measured it now at 40%, with a 57% disapproving, he said, adding, the quote, significance that is the lowest President Biden has ever measured in our poll in terms of job approval. 40% approval rating. That's kind of let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Also, for comparison, in case you're wondering, they noted that in January, his approval rating sat at 46%, while 50% disapproved. Quote, a significant dip there. Remember that the country is about 50-50 when it comes to voting. About 50% of people vote Democrat, 50% of people vote Republican, and then you also always have some people that vote Democrat that are unhappy with how the country is, just for, roundabout sakes. This is what you typically see. We can also go back and look for comparison purposes of two different approval ratings. One, overall approval ratings, and number two, final presidential job approval ratings. So first, we'll look at final presidential job approval ratings. So you can look at here, approval percentage is the main one you really want to look at here. These are basically modern day approval ratings, because this is largely, I don't think they really did polls over 100 years ago. And so you can see here, the first column here is approval ratings, which is really what you need to look at, because the opposite approval is disapproval. And final approval ratings means the approval at the end of their term. So you can see here, Richard Nixon, his final approval was very low, and Obviously, we know why. And you can see here Jimmy Carter also very low. Donald Trump very low as well, 34% at the end. George W. Bush, surprisingly, very low at the end of his term. Very surprising. Okay. You can see all the end. Bill Clinton, very high actually at the end. George Bush, pretty high, 56%. Barack Obama, 59%. And you can get a decent idea here. Basically, anybody above 50%, Ronald Reagan, pretty high. Anybody above 50% is considered pretty high for a president, which is kind of sad, actually, to think that 50% of the country actually approving of you is high. But you guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Now, take this into comparison. So here's a perfect example, right? So George W. Bush, he ended with only a 34% approval rating, the same as Donald Trump. Very, very low. That's the final approval rate. George W. Bush and Donald Trump, 34%. Very, very low. When we look at the overall approval ratings, how their approval ratings were for the averages of all their approval ratings throughout their terms, George W. Bush's actually 50%. Okay, so you can see the difference there. George H.W. Bush, he only had one term, 60.9, almost 61%. Extremely high, extremely high. So you can see here, Dwight D. Eisenhower, 65%. John F. Kennedy, 70.1%, 70%. That's actually the highest one on here. Of course, we know what happened to him. Actually, let me see here, the lowest average overall approval rating is Donald Trump on here at 41.1%. The last three presidents, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Donald Trump, all three below 50% here. And again, you see the same, and even Bill Clinton at 55%, even though he had the whole Monica Lewinsky thing and was actually impeached in the House, is actually kind of shocking to me. Again, and I think a lot of people just actually kind of overlooked that as saying it was really just kind of ridiculous, right? The whole Monica Lewinsky thing. It's just, does that really affect your job as a president? And, a lot of people just kind of looked at that and said, well, you guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. But when you look at these last three presidents of below 50%, George W. Bush, just a tad below, 49.4%. A lot of this is just a lot of Republicans always think that the Democrat president is doing a bad job. A lot of Democrats think that the Republican president is always doing a bad job. And it's really a sad, sad part of our country. You can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. We need to be more of a United States of America. Sadly, it never seems to happen. And especially right now with two major wars going on, and we can't ever seem to be united. Especially in Congress, we have always Democrats against Republicans, Republicans against Democrats, and nothing gets done. Look at what is happening in Congress. Absolutely nothing's got done for the last year. We Republicans in Congress right now are fighting amongst themselves, let alone trying to pass anything. It's a struggle. It's the struggle bus for real. US, Israel, and Hamas reached tentative deal to pause conflicts and free dozens of hostages. A deal for the release of Israeli hostages appears close. The previous one was, according to some sources, it's not official yet, potentially 50 to 100 hostages, mostly women and children, potentially could be happening here. But Israel believes the Hamas leader, Sinwar, is irrational, making the hostage deal more urgent. So we will see what happens there. And I mean, honestly, I think a lot of people believe the Hamas leader is irrational, and that is the whole reason why they attacked to begin with. And let me know your thoughts here on that. Also, Iran unveils improved hypersonic missiles, claiming it can evade air defense systems that travel at multiple Mach speeds. Iran's supreme leader has unveiled this, which it says has equipped with advanced warheads and hypersonic glide vehicles. And this comes here now as the U.S. has now been attacked 61 times in the Middle East. American troops in Iraq and Syria. And the other question here is, would Iraq be bold enough to try to attack the U.S. mainland with something like this? The other question here is Iraq getting this new technology from their good friends, Russia, who has this hypersonic technology, or this new version of this hypersonic technology, which Russia has actually used against Ukraine on the battlefield. And the problem with this stuff is that this stuff can evade anti-missile technology, and is largely thought it cannot be shot down. It travels too fast. And we know that the Iranian proxies that are already attacking U.S. military bases 61 times now, will they start using this new hypersonic technology, which is very, very dangerous and can take out who knows how many American military troops, who knows what other targets they could use this on. It's quite a concern, because they're literally unveiling this to the public, saying they're basically testing us. The problem here is that the U.S. has been very hesitant to fight back. And the problem is that if the U.S. actually does put their foot down, which a lot of military generals and people are stepping forward saying, we got to show force. We can't just let them keep attacking us 61 times now in the Middle East. Is that when we do attack back and show force, then they're actually going to start using this hypersonic technology and actually start upping their show of force. And then we're going to have a potential actually real war against Iran or Iranian proxies, the Houthis, Hezbollah, which is 100,000 troops. You should watch my video here. I'll link this to you now. Of the U.S. already has 40,000 military troops there. 40,000 Americans are already over there, and it's a major concern. So let me know your thoughts here. Thank you for liking and sharing these videos. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on any new videos that come out here every day at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Click this video here now to see my video about 40,000 military men already in the Middle East, and the problems it presents to you guys, or to American families and American troops there next. So click on this video here. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.